Hey guys, welcome to the channel. Welcome back to another video. Let's have this conversation today. Today's video, we're going to be talking about Nvidia and this earnings report that just came out just a few hours ago, guys. They had their earnings report finally came out. The wait is over. All right. Breaking news: Nvidia stock beat earnings. Nvidia stock analysis. Let's have this conversation, guys. Now, as you come in, let me know what city, what state, what country you're checking in from, guys. Good to have you here. Hey, Skittles in the house. Willie Wilo's in the house. Aurelius is in the house from New York City. We got Purposeful, Osiris. Good to have you. Aretha from St. Louis. Thank you so much. DJ World from Florida. Good to have you here. Let's talk about Nvidia. We had big news that happened today, guys. The stock price, we know what's happening with the stock price after hours. We know it's going down. Obviously, you've seen that. I'm going to share my screen with you guys, and we're going to jump into this conversation, guys, and just talk about where we are with this stock, the big stock. And we finally got this after a lot of anticipation in terms of where Nvidia would go with its earnings report. So I'm just going to share my screen with you guys real quick. And if you can hear me, give me a thumbs up so that I know that you can hear me okay. Appreciate it. Let's see here. I'm going to actually pull up the stock numbers so we can look at what's happening after hours, so to speak. As we look here, guys, we can see that, yes, Nvidia actually beat its earnings. It beat its earnings, beat it nicely, right? We'll get into the numbers specifically here in just a second, right? But it did what it was supposed to do, right? Let's just call a thing a thing. It did what it was supposed to do, right? And as you can see on my screen, guys, we're sharing it with you. 5-day had a tremendous dip, yeah, just yesterday, but 5-day down -3%. Past month, still up for the month, still up for 6 months, still up for year to date, right? But over the last 5 days, we've seen it kind of flatline as it got closer and closer to the earnings, right? The report today. And then we've seen after hours, Nvidia went swoop, 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 straight down after hours. You can see it right here on my screen, dipped all the way to 116 after hours, still trading below. Right? Is this trend going to be what it is throughout the day tomorrow? We'll have to monitor from there. But as you see, headlines for Nvidia earnings, stock falls as revenue outlook beats, but not by enough. Nvidia Q2 earnings blow past expectations, but shares slide. Nvidia stock slips after earnings forecast. Nvidia reports 122% revenue growth on surging demand for data center, but the stock slips. So lots and lots of talk around this stock and what's happening to this stock right now as we speak. I'm going to share a few other screens with you guys throughout this talk, but just know, yes, the stock has slipped. But guess what? Guess what? Listen to me closely, guys. For investors, if you are an investor in Nvidia, good. The stock is down. The stock has slipped after earnings, even though it beat earnings. That's okay. You're not sweating this whole thing, right? You're not sweating it. You might be asking yourself, well, why is Nvidia falling after a positive, a good earnings report, right? Because remember now, they were saying, well, we hope we beat it at 29 billion in terms of revenue, top line revenue, right? It went up to 30 billion, right? We'll talk about the specific numbers. But Nvidia's down overnight. It may start the day tomorrow down, the trading day on Thursday. But this, if you're an investor, this is kind of what you want to see, right? It beat its estimate. Yay, great. Right? And it has this sort of rare decline, right, in value following an earnings update. It's not going to stay down here forever. This is what you got to know, right? This is what you got to know. Let me see who we got in the chat, guys. I kind of went through the chat real quick. Hey, Willie Wilo, like I said, I called him out twice there, right? Central Time, Purposeful, good to have you here. Salute again to you. Hey, San Jose, California. Robert, good to have you. Colombia is in the house. Edwin. Mrs. Moore, thank you so much for being here. I appreciate you guys. Don't forget to hit the thumbs up as you come in. Rockford, Illinois in the house, right? Tuning in from Auckland, New Zealand. So we got them way out of New Zealand. What time is it in New Zealand right now? I'm going to guess and say 7 o'clock in the morning, maybe? Just a guess. Let's see here. Sure is being manipulated. Nigel's in the house. Thank you, Nigel, for being here. Glad to see you. Jeremy's in here. 851 shares and still holding. Yes, from Texas there. Appreciate you. All right. Let's see who we got here. Thanks for the thumbs up. Appreciate it. Memphis 10 is in the house, right? Let's see. So we got quite a folks. South Highland, Illinois is right there, right outside of Chicago. Good to have you. So here's the numbers. Let's talk about the numbers, okay? The numbers from today's quarter two, this is quarter two 2025 for Nvidia. Although we're still in 2024, they're reporting quarter two 2025. Record quarterly revenue. Hear me out, guys. Even though the stock price dipped overnight, we see it dipping as we speak. Record quarterly revenue of $30 billion. 15% higher revenue from quarter one when it knocked the ball out of the park. So Nvidia is still hitting home runs in terms of their revenue. Up and up and up, right? The revenue for Nvidia, even though it's had sort of a sour month, not so great of a month, right? The record revenue is still up 122% year over year. Listen, there's very, very few companies that are up 122% year over year. And this is the second or third or fourth biggest company in the world in terms of market share. Record quarterly data center revenue. Most of their revenue comes from the data center. Remember, 30 billion revenue, 26.3 billion revenue up from the data center alone, data centers. That's up 16% from the last quarter and up 154% year over year from last year, right? So revenue is up 122% year over year and up 15% from the last quarter. Data center revenue is up 154% year over year, and data center revenue is up 16% from last quarter. The numbers are going up, right? They also said gaming. The revenue from gaming is up 16% year over year. Revenue from professional visual, what they call visualization, is up 20% year over year. Automotive is up 37% year over year. So it's all going up. Nvidia, at this point, is probably the most important stock in the world, according to a lot of folks, right? And it handily beat expectations. I think expectations was around 28.6 billion. It got to 30 billion, right? It beat expectations. And it reflects more and more demand and more investing in AI pretty much across the board for all of the big ones. And we'll look at those in a minute. But Nvidia is the world leader in AI chips, chip design, and software. And listen, it controls over 80% of that market, right? Almost half, 45%. I'm going to show you a chart here in a second. Almost a little over 45% of their revenue is tied directly to Microsoft, Amazon, Google, Tesla. Almost half of their revenue is tied to the top 4 or 5 companies in the world. Demand. That's the kicker, right? You hear them talk about, like in the meeting today. I don't know if any of you guys, if you heard the meeting, if you were in the meeting today, give me a thumbs up. Let me know that you were in the meeting. Just put a thumbs up in the chat, because I listened in as I was driving. I heard a little bit of it. But give me a thumbs up if you were in the meeting and you heard their address to shareholders. Was it the CFO lady? I'm not sure if it was a CFO, and it was Jensen Huang in there as well. Give me a thumbs up. Let me know if you actually heard the information. Okay, a few of you did. Good. Excellent. You've probably heard them talk about CapEx, right? Capital expenditures is what CapEx is, right? And CapEx, just so you know, so we're clear, CapEx, you hear this tossed around a lot in the tech space, really. CapEx is just basically the funds that companies use to buy and upgrade and maintain all of the assets and stuff they have that are intended to benefit the company, right? That's CapEx, right? Usually it's fixed stuff, right? The property, the equipment, the plants, the plant, the buildings and all that good stuff, right? But it can include software too. But CapEx, right? Let me show you this. I got a lot of thumbs up. So a lot of you actually were in that meeting. Fantastic. Good. Man, I tell you, man, we got some smart people in this chat. I mean, I got some smart folks in this chat, man. I'm not saying that just to blow you up or what do you call it? Is that called capping? I don't know if that's I forget some of the slang, right? Is that cap? I don't know if that's cap or not. Maybe it is cap. I don't know. Let me show you this real quick, guys. Let me go to share my screen with you. I want to show you what I mean by these big companies, right? Because I always talk about the customers and who they're actually selling this information to and or selling this AI to and all that good stuff, but I don't really show you. So let me show you real quick. So here's a chart, and you can see my screen. A huge amount of big tech's CapEx is going directly to Nvidia. These are the big players right here. Let me see if I can get that thing right. There it is right there. So percentage of Nvidia's revenue. I said nearly 50% go to the big, they call these the big boys here. Amazon. Okay, so 45%, nearly half of Nvidia's revenue is from these companies, these 5 companies. Microsoft is a big chunk, right? Full 19% of Nvidia's revenue of that $30 billion came from Microsoft. A full 10% comes from Meta. A full 3.27% of the revenue is from Tesla, and almost 7% is from Google's Alphabet, and then, of course, Amazon. So these big boys right here, hyperscalers, right? These hyperscalers is almost half of Nvidia's customers, half of their revenue, their sales is to these 5 companies right here. And do you think Microsoft is going anywhere anytime soon? Not at all. Meta, here to stay. Matter of fact, Meta was just on stage with Jensen Huang 2 months ago, right? You know Elon's not going anywhere. You know Google has come out recently and had some really positive things to say about their space in the AI and their demand. So the point is this. Here's your demand right here. And guess what? These companies have already come out and said, we will spend whatever we have to spend to beat the competition. So if these companies are willing to spend whatever they have to spend to beat the competition, that means they may be overspending or they may be spending a whole bunch in the next 3, 4, or 5 years because Alphabet wants to continue its market share. So does Meta. So does Microsoft. They want to continue their market share, right? Meta is Facebook and Instagram, right? We know what Microsoft is. We're probably all using a Microsoft product somehow, somewhere right now. So the point is that this is 45% of Nvidia's revenue right here with these, what they call the hyperscalers, right? And these are the 5 of the most valuable companies on the planet. So when we talk about demand, the demand is there, right? Let me see if there's another one up here I want to look at. Nvidia revenue tops expectations in fiscal quarter 2. Take a look at this revenue right here. Boom, 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 boom. Excuse me. And these are by quarters right here. So look at that revenue. Here we are today, 32 billion. I'm sorry, 30 billion. Now watch this, and we'll talk about the projections for next quarter. They projected to go up again. So they were projecting, 28.6, 28.8 is what it says here. I read it at 28.6, but it beat earnings. That's good stuff. We like that. And despite beating earnings, and by the way, you see it broken down into data center, gaming, and other. Data center. Look at that big space. That dark green right there is data center, right? Go back 2 years ago, guys. Look at the difference here between the difference. Gaming was half of their revenue 2 years ago, a little less than half of their revenue 2 years ago. But look at data centers in the dark green, right? Data centers in the dark green since Q1 of 2024. This is probably last year at this time. Look at data centers. Went from data centers went from overall, let's see. Yeah, data centers went from 4.3 billion to 26.3 billion. That's a fourfold increase in a year. Data centers. I hope that gives you an idea of how this incredible growth has happened. Primarily in the data center. Gaming was 2.2 billion. Now gaming is 2.9 billion, right? So gaming hasn't went up that much, 2.2 to 2.9 billion over the course of the last year, but data centers, fourfold increase. Now data centers make up 26.3 of that 30 billion is data centers. Well, where are those data centers being built? Who are they being built for? Data centers are being built for Microsoft, Meta, Tesla, Alphabet, Amazon. Makes up 50% of their revenue. So these companies are loading up on the things that it takes to incorporate AI into their businesses, right? And so I'm trying to give you the big picture of what's happening here, guys, because the earnings report was a positive earnings report. And you really, to be honest with you, I'm going to be honest with you here, guys, because I want to be honest. You got two big things happening with this stock today that are huge for investors, and I hope you guys understand it. One, earnings are up. It beat earnings. Great, good. The company's growing. Fantastic. But the second thing is that shortly after, your price is down. Your stock price is down, right? Couple of things I want to point out. Jensen Huang came out and said, and I got a couple quotes from him, if I can see it. Hopper demand remains strong, and the anticipation for Blackwell, which is going to really be a game changer, guys. The anticipation for Blackwell is incredible. Look, they haven't even unleashed their big thing, their big product, their new product. They haven't even unleashed it just yet, right? And he said, Jensen Huang said, Nvidia achieved record revenues as global data centers are in full throttle to modernize the entire computing stack with accelerated computing and generative AI, and accelerated computing. Blackwell samples are shipping to our partners and customers. Spectrum X Ethernet for AI and Nvidia AI enterprise software are the two new product categories achieving significant scale, demonstrating that Nvidia is a full stack and data center scale platform. Across the entire stack and ecosystem, we are helping frontier model makers to consumer internet services and now enterprises. So Gen AI will revolutionize every single industry. During the first half of fiscal 2025, guys, Nvidia has returned $15 billion to shareholders in the form of share repurchases and cash dividends, right? So the anticipation for the company's next gen or Gen AI, the next gen Blackwell chip, is incredible. In other words, 45 to 50% of their biggest customers are also going to be their biggest customers when it comes to the Blackwell chip. The CFO was named Colette Kress, said in a statement, Blackwell production ramp is scheduled to begin in the fourth quarter and continue into fiscal 2026. In the fourth quarter, we expect to ship several $1 billion in Blackwell revenue. Operating revenue, Nvidia reported 18.642 billion for quarter two, which was a 10% increase from the previous quarter. That's operating income, OI, 10% up. 174% operating income since last year at this time, right? So their margins still up around the 60 to 65% range. I think I heard them say something about anticipating 70% margins. That's tremendous. That means lots and lots of revenue, low debt. Lots and lots of revenue, low debt, right? Huge. Now, I want to share this with you guys also because I want to talk about this as well. I think as an investor, again, what I'm doing here, guys, is telling you things to be considering as an investor. You have to make a decision. Am I going to go ahead and hold Nvidia in my ETFs? Matter of fact, I'm going to do a video about ETFs tomorrow because I want to talk about some, because a lot of people don't want to invest in this single stock. They don't want to join the euphoria and the hype of Nvidia. A lot of people want to just stay and continue to dollar cost average into their ETFs. So tomorrow I want to have a conversation, do a video about that, right? Advantages, disadvantages, and then the specific, we're actually going to share our screen and look at the specific ETFs and what they hold if you want to be an ETF, a holder of Nvidia, which I think is important to do as well, right? You don't just have to be the person that's out investing in Nvidia as a single stock. You can be that person who's investing in Nvidia in the ETFs, and I think that's important as well. So let me just look at this real quick, guys. I pulled this up for you, and if you can see my screen, it says Nvidia's earnings commentary is weighing on other chip stocks on Wednesday's extended session. While Nvidia shares are down about 6% in late trading, which they might be down even more by now, shares of partners and peers are seeing drops as well. That can be seen in the server business. Dell shares are down 3%. Super microcomputer shares are down 4%. But you look at Nvidia, this is what they closed at. This is what they closed at, right? Nvidia closed at 125.61 down, right? ARM Holdings down, AMD down, Super Micro down, right? Dell Technologies down, Broadcom, ticker symbol AVGO, down, and Micron Technology down. Here's what I'm saying. Other stocks are down too. Excuse me. Remember, Nvidia drives a lot of what we see in the market. And when we see Nvidia go down, we see some other activity go down as well. As an investor, you have to be aware of this, right? You may want to say, okay, great. Broadcom is down. Okay, let me pick up 5 shares. Let me pick up 10 shares, 20 shares, whatever. You got to start making these decisions, right? And this is why individual stock picking can be tricky, because you got to know that what's happening over at Nvidia is not the same as what's happening at Exxon and Chevron. It's not the same as what's happening in Chipotle and Cava and Costco and whatever. It's different, right? What's happening in Walmart, not the same over in this tech sector. But as a tech sector investor of Nvidia, you got to know what's happening with the other stocks and how they're being affected, other companies, and how they're being affected by what's happening with Nvidia as well, right? So just wanted to show you that one as well. So the kicker here is now we have to go to the outlook for the rest of the quarter. I'm sorry, the rest of the year. We know we got fiscal year 1 out of the way and fiscal year 2. I'm sorry, fiscal year. We got quarter 1 out of the way for fiscal year 2025. We still got quarter 2 for fiscal year 2025. Let me go to the chat real quick because I've been neglecting you guys in the chat. Let me see if you guys are talking about anything, any questions for me. Nobody is happy looking at their portfolio in the red heart. Yeah, hey, you may not be happy looking at your portfolio and looking at your Nvidia right now, but it's an opportunity. You have to get away from the emotion. Separate yourself from being emotionally charged or emotionally downtrodden because Nvidia didn't jump up to 140 today. You were hoping, yay, it's going to jump to 140. Be patient. Be patient. Don't get overly excited. Don't get overly down. Be patient. Stay in the middle, even keel, right? Great numbers from Nvidia today. Guys, tickle, tickle, tickle. Loosen up, right? Hey, smile, tickle, tickle. Great numbers for today, right? Don't necessarily look at the stock price without understanding the stock price in context with the numbers that were revealed today, right? Somebody say, I need therapy after today's drops. Xander, don't do it. Xander, don't do it. I'm going to highlight that comment, Xander. Don't do it. Don't. Listen, the key is this. Get your emotions out of Nvidia. I'm trying to quell your emotions in Nvidia. Get your emotions out of Nvidia, please. Right? Because if you don't get your investments, if you don't get your emotions out of Nvidia, you are going to, your heart's going to drop, right? When you see it dip and when it does dip, when it does it, you don't want to do that. So you want to remove your emotions. Very important, right? Very important. Get those emotions out of the way, guys. I'm going to share my screen here in just a second, one more time here. Let me see what we got. Just looking through the chat, guys. Bear with me. And we'll talk about the outlook as well, right? Because we got some more things to think about. Okay, as I said, Nvidia wouldn't have increased orders with TSMC if they weren't getting huge orders from Blackwell. Oh, they're getting their Blackwell orders for sure. I'm therapy too. Portfolio crash 17% today. Hold the line, people. Hold the line. Nvidia will hit 140 by mid-October. Yeah, just relax, guys. Relax. Why the drop in stock price with such good numbers? There could be some issues there, right? Why the drop with such good numbers, right? It beat its numbers. And really, it's typically when you see a good report, you don't see shares decline like that, right? You don't see shares decline like that. The rate that Nvidia is going up is not quite the same that it's going up. And so sometimes you get some folks that startles a few people, right? But Nvidia can't keep quadrupling in terms of, let's look at the data center. Went from 4 billion last year, a little over 4 billion, to 26 billion. You didn't expect Nvidia to go up 4 times. You can't expect it to keep going up 4 times, 400%. That just won't happen. And sometimes when people don't see that happen, it kind of startles a few folks. But listen, if you are a true investor, you're not tripping over that. You're saying to yourself, relax, be patient. No big deal. We beat earnings. We're doing great. We're in good position. Good sales are great. The demand is there. I'm relaxing. Right? So you got to take some of that emotion away from it so you don't get all caught up in it, or needing is it defibrillator or whatever, all that type of stuff, right? Antonia says the market is being manipulated. How so? Somebody says I'm holding for the long run. Me too. Good to have you in Martinsville, Virginia. No big deal. We're in good shape, guys. This is a good sign. If you wanted to actually pick up a few shares, now may be a good time as we see it trading after hours lower. It may open up tomorrow at 122, 123 in the first half of tomorrow. And you may say, hey, it's a good time to go in and buy more. Great report, right? Somebody said just hold. Absolutely. Yeah, I heard the whole thing as well in the meeting, guys. I'm optimistic. As an investor, I'm optimistic. And I'm optimistic that Blackwell is going to be a big deal. Blackwell is going to really be a game changer in terms of what they can do, right? So I think we're in good shape. We're fine. The stock is growing. The only thing that's affecting the stock, in my opinion, is this feverish overhang that overhangs the stock because of such high expectations. I think that's the issue. That's the only reason that's making it kind of flip-flop, is these over expectations that people have in the stock. Juan, you said it right, Juan. If you cannot handle days like this, best buy ETF or index and just leave it alone. Man, how about an amen for Juan Martinez? I appreciate you saying that. You are 100% correct. If you cannot handle a good earnings report and a slightly lower stock price, investing in individual stocks may not be for you. And that's perfectly okay. There's nothing wrong with you saying, you bowing out and say, you know what? I'm just going to go grab me some VOO. I'm going to grab me some SMH, some QQQ, and I'm going to just have it in an ETF where I don't have to look at it every single day and sweat bullets every time there's an earnings report, right? So good point, Juan. I appreciate you bringing that up. Let's see. Q4. Nvidia has me so upset today. Yeah, don't let it get you upset, because if you let it get you upset, being angry and upset and PO'd, that is an emotion. Take your emotions out of Nvidia. I know it's difficult. Let's see. Markets are controlled. It's got nothing to do with numbers too. Should have sold at 140 and buy the 100 dip. That's my plan from now on. Price of war. Let's see. Nobody is happy. Guys, got a question? Put a Q in there. I'll do my best to answer it. Obviously, higher profit margin generates more profits, no doubt. Horrible earnings would have been a green day. Yeah, horrible earnings would have been a green day. Very interesting point. Let's see here. The market for a week told us that they were selling regardless of the news. Right. I was prepared for a 15% to 20% dip. Smart. Right. SMCI getting crushed as they delay their 10K filing. Listen, this may be the time. You're an investor, right? You're not a gambler. You shouldn't be. You should be an investor. Informed decisions, right? Let's see here. It's a marathon, not a race. Absolutely, Jay. It's a marathon. So relax, right? When you listen, have any of you ever tried to run around a track one time at high speed? Right? If you try to run around a track at high speed, listen, look at this as a 10-year track, 20-year track. Take your time, relax, start, get yourself an even pace. Maybe you dollar cost average, right? Very important. Let's see. I think this is an overreaction. I'm just picking up a few more shares. Yeah, I think there is some overreaction in the market. I really do believe that, because you got a lot of folks out there that are new to investing that said, man, if we get a good earnings report, I don't know who's been telling you this. Oh, if we get a good earnings report, right, we're going to go up to $145 per share, right? Doesn't always happen like that. Every now and then you get these rare cases where you see a little backwards pull, but I think some of that backwards pull is because of the overhype, the hypeness of it all, right? Now, if Nvidia goes below 100, I think you're going to have about 10 minutes to buy. If it goes below 100, right? Somebody says, Xander said, what if it goes below 100? You're going to have about 10 minutes to buy before it's back at 120. I think the sweet spot is between 120 and 130. If it drops below 120, we see people buy to push it back. If it goes over 130, or drops below 120, I'm sorry. But if it goes above 130, we're sort of seeing a sell-off, right? If it goes over 130. So between 120 and 130 seems to be the sweet spot, where if it dips below 120, everybody goes buy. If it goes over 130, we see a sell-off. Now, that sweet spot, in my opinion, is going to shift over the next several weeks to a month or two. We're going to see that shift, and I think it will probably shift into the 130 to 140 range. That's my opinion that I see. Sure, we see a lull right now, right? Kind of a anticlimactic after the big news, but I think we'll see it shift, that shift kind of move back up. Let's see here. Somebody said buy calls and offset with buying some puts. Not a bad idea. I don't buy calls, puts, and don't do any options trading on this channel. Let's see, because they didn't crush expectation as it has in the past quarter. Listen, when you say, right, that I think that's the whole thing, John. Excuse me. A lot of new investors were expecting this crush. Instead of giving us 30 billion, we're looking for 33 billion, 34 billion in sales. Listen, it cannot keep moving at the exponential pace it was moving. We know that. So we have to bring our expectations. 2 days ago, I did a video and I said, hey, one of the biggest risks to Nvidia prior to earnings is us controlling our own expectations as investors. And our expectations and investors can have an effect on a stock price, which I think is what's happening with Nvidia right now. Let's see. Somebody said Nvidia was going to drop regardless of results. That's a good point, Walamala. Could be. We saw the results were good, great, it still dropped. If it had came in bad and they only did 27 billion instead of 28.6 billion, 28.8 billion, it would have dropped. So it was going to drop regardless because of so much irrational exuberance that is hanging over the stock as a company right now. Let's see. In September, dipping also. September is notoriously a month in terms of the stock market where you see dip. You see things go down typically, right? Let's see here. Somebody said hold the line. I'm just looking at a few of the chats, guys. But here's the deal. Nvidia has another forecast coming up, right? It has another forecast coming up. So because it has another forecast coming up, what's happening with the upcoming forecast, right? So that's something to think about. The continued outlook for 2025. Was there anything else I wanted to show you up here, guys? We looked at that one. We looked at that one. And we looked at that one. And, oh, if you want to know, by the way, I want to show you this too, guys. If you want to get more granular, man, that's a nice word, granular. If you want to go more granular into their reports, you need to check out this page right here on NVIDIA's newsroom, right? At their website, NVIDIA News, NVIDIA announces financial results for second quarter fiscal year 2025. If you want to dig more granular into the numbers, right? This is a great report that summarizes. If you don't want to look at the full 10Q and pull that down and take a look at the whole quarterly report, you can go to this page in the newsroom and kind of get a briefing of what happened. Talks about their quarterly revenue of 30 billion, up 15%, talks about their data center revenue. And the reason they pull out and highlight that data center revenue, because that's 26.3 of the 30 billion is from the data centers, right? And those data centers are big. So you can go through the quarter two fiscal 2025 summary, comparing it with the previous quarter, some of the other GAAP and non-GAAP. And then it also breaks down NVIDIA's outlook for the third quarter of fiscal year 2025, which is coming up in November. It says revenue is expected to be 32.5 billion plus or minus 2%. In other words, they are projecting that we're going to go from 30 billion to 32.5 billion next quarter, right? In terms of what's happening this quarter to be reported out November 7th or whatever it is. So they're looking for an increase, another increase in terms of revenue. Be paying attention to that. GAAP and non-GAAP gross margins expected to be 74 and 75%. That's some really great gross margins, by the way, right? It said for the full year, gross margins expected to be in the mid 70% range. Operating expenses are expected to be approximately 4.3 billion and 3 billion. That's GAAP and non-GAAP, non-GAAP and GAAP. And it goes on to say that I'm just looking through some of the highlights. NVIDIA achieved progress since its previous earnings announcement. It breaks down all of the data center highlights from their revenue. It breaks down gaming and AI PC highlights. It breaks down what they call professional visualization. It breaks down automotive and robotics, right? And then it's got some CFO commentary and other numbers. I suggest if you are interested or you have a nice position in NVIDIA, so you know and understand and learn the numbers, go to their newsroom on their website, pull this page down, and take a good, solid look at it. It will explain a lot of what we're talking about in greater detail, more granular. Man, that's a great word. Give it a shot, guys. So listen, here's the deal. A couple of things I want to point out, right? A couple of things I want to point out. First thing I want to say is nothing worried me about this earnings report. Not a one thing. There was nothing that jumped out at the earnings report that said, oh my gosh, they missed on that terribly. No. This is great. NVIDIA beat earnings. Forget about the stock price today. Okay, don't forget about it, but put it to the back burner. That's all emotional, up and down. We know it's going to be down a little bit. Might come back up. Who knows? We're not going to sweat whether it's 120 when we open up in the morning or whether it's 125 or 128. We're not going to sweat it too hard. Nothing worried me about this report at all. NVIDIA, remember, NVIDIA has set a really high bar. That might be the only bearish idea that I can think of. That's it. Other than that, everything looks bullish. Everything is moving up. Game is on. Game on, right? Game on when it comes to Nvidia. The stock fell in the quarter. We know that. The stock fell in the quarter. We know that, guys. If we go back and look at the stock, I'm only doing month. Let's look at the last 3 months since when was our last report? August. Boom. Was it May? May, at the end of May was their last report. So since the end of May, we've had some up and some down in the stock, right? So it's a little bit bearish in terms of stock price, but all the numbers and the demand is all bullish, right? So, and then if you're an investor, great. I mean, the stock, and I'm not going to go through the stock prediction, what they're predicting the stock price is going to end the year at. But you got some folks saying the stock is going to end at 200. The stock is going to end at 175. The stock is going to end the year at 160, 150, right? You've got those predictions from people. They may be totally wrong, but they're out there, right? So this whole price action that we see at 120, 125, 130, 119, you don't have to really sweat that from an investor standpoint. Understand stock price is important, but the company, when you buy a stock, you're buying a company. And when you buy a company, you're looking at top line revenue, margins, right? Earnings per share. You're looking at price, the PE ratios. You're looking at return on equity. You're looking at other things that describe the health of the company. Nvidia has a whole bunch of revenue and very little debt, right? All the numbers, the fundamentals look good. Whether it's trading at 119 or 125, the numbers look wonderful. And they're continuing to increase their revenue while demand continues to go up, especially from the big boys, the hyperscalers, the Amazons, Teslas, Microsofts, Googles, etc. Right? That is what you really need to know. Please don't just look at stock price to make a decision about whether you're going to buy a stock or not. That's not the only thing to buy if you're buying long term. Now, if you're looking to do options, day trading, yes, stock price means the world to you. But I'm telling you, I'm not a day trader. I'm not an options guy with calls and puts. I'm in it for the long haul. And if you're like me and in it for the long haul, do a lot of qualitative analysis on the company and where they're going in terms of numbers. And when you do that, you don't panic when you see that it had a great earnings report, but the stock went down. The stock price went down. Stock price it's not going to be that big of a deal come 3 years from now. We're going to look back here and say, oh, it was 120, and it may only be trading at 135 or 145 in 3 years. Or it may be trading at $450 in 3 years. And we're not going to trip on whether it was 119 or 120 after this quarter two. And I'm telling you this because I'm setting you up for the fact that quarter three, it may hit earnings, it may go below earnings, it may go above earnings. The thing that I'm looking at the most when I'm looking at Nvidia is I'm looking at a lot of things. But one thing is, what is the AI demand? Because we know they hold a large share of that market. What is demand, and who are their customers, and what are the CEOs of their customers saying about AI? If I can wrap my head around that, it's going to make me feel a lot better with that stock price dipping down a little bit because of something going on. Right? I hope that makes any sense. I hope that kind of sets the record straight about kind of where you should understand to be as an investor. I'm trying to tell you, do not be an emotional investor. Excuse me. That's not intelligent investing, right? Nothing worried me. The bar is set high. I think what's happening with this price is healthy. Let me say that, guys, because I want to make sure I kind of hone in on that. I think what we see is healthy with the stock price. In other words, I would much rather see the stock price go down to, what is it trading at right now? Let me refresh my screen real quick. I would much rather see the stock take a take a $7 or $8 overnight after a good earnings report, I would much rather see that. This is me personally now, than see the stock soar up to $140 per share right after a good earnings report, from 125 per share to 140 per share. Because if it shoots up from 125 to 140, it feels like irrational exuberance. It feels like a bubble. It doesn't feel healthy when the stock shoots up like that. In my opinion, I'd much rather see it take a $5 or $6 or $7 hit after a good earnings report, because it tells me that that's more of a healthy price for the stock, right? It's the opportunity for us going long on the stock to buy more, right? Remember, Blackwell is coming. That's going to be a game changer. Overall, Nvidia, it has a bullish trend, right? It has a bullish trend. Several things, guys. I always like to kind of talk about this when I talk about stocks. Make sure that your purchase of Nvidia, any stock for that matter, fits into what your investment plan is. And I'm serious about an investment plan, right? I talked about that the other day ago, and somebody sent me a comment and said, "Man, I don't have no plan. I just go out there and do what I got to do." Okay, that's cool, but you playing with fire if you don't have a plan, because a plan is going to give you a route to go with, right? But create a plan of investment, be consistent over a long time, invest. If you don't know or understand AI, maybe Nvidia is not for you unless you want to learn about AI. So what I've taken it upon myself when I first bought Nvidia several months back is to just go ahead and learn as much as I can about AI so I understand the space as I'm investing in it, right? So if you don't know about it, don't invest, but just learn about it and then invest, right? Or learn as you go, right? Risk what you can afford to lose. Make sure you're diversified. Please don't have all your money in one stock. That's the wrong way to invest. Please, please, please do not have 98% of your money in Nvidia only. Diversify your investment choices. That's why I want to talk tomorrow about ETFs, and I want to share my screen and we'll do some ETF comparisons that share or have a lot of Nvidia in the weight of those ETFs. We'll talk about that tomorrow. But also, don't panic. Please do not panic. Let me see here. My average price is 103. Peace and blessings. Hey, Ben Frank, good to have you here. Are you buying or crying right now? Listen, you'd be better off buying, because crying means you're emotional, and we say don't get emotional, right? Somebody said, I'll hold my shares. Pistol Pete's in the house. Good to have you. Keep the interceptions down. Let's see here. Let's see. We're just looking through a few of the chats. Guys, do me a favor. You got to hit the like button for me. Please smash the like button. Really would appreciate it. Check out my channel partner in the description box, Mint Mobile. Save money, which is what this channel is all about, right? Make money, save money on your premium wireless services. Really, really solid customer service at Mint Mobile. You can keep your own phone number. Only takes about 15 minutes to move over to a less expensive premium wireless service. Also in the description box, be sure to get your free ebook, The 24 Laws of Money, free from me to you. You can join our Patreon over in the description box as well. You can get on my schedule, schedule me for a 30-minute phone call or hour and a half or 2-hour phone call also. That's in the description box as well, right? I just want to share that with you guys as a little commercial break. Let me see if I got any more questions down here. Let's see. Demand is the last thing Nvidia is worried about, no doubt. Hey, Eric, it seems you went from an index trader to some specific stocks. Love the content. Thanks, Pistol Pete. You know what happened, Pistol? I called you Pistol. You know what happened, Pete, is this. I do still have a strong ETF portfolio. The vast majority, 98% of all my investments is ETFs, or like an ETF equivalent with my TSP and so forth. Very much ETF. But then as I began to talk about stocks a while back, I said, let's start, buying more shares. I did have a few stocks. I said, let's start buying more shares of individual stocks. And then this Nvidia thing started popping off. Said, wow, that company, I heard about them a couple of years ago, man. And so what happened is I started buying some individual stocks more and more. And so we do that over on Patreon more so. But it's been sort of a recent thing for me to really dig deeper into actually buying in individual stocks. So appreciate that comment, Pistol Pete. You're right. I was more of an index trader and much, much less of an individual stock person. But, it's all investing. And on this channel, we want to help you not only save money, not only manage money well, not only be in control of your money, but also grow your money. And investing is just another way you can grow your money, whether it's ETFs, individual stocks, real estate, you name it. We do it all. We talk about all the ways, even side gigs and side hustles, right? Even gaining some higher paying skills, getting better skills to actually increase your income, right? We talk about all of it because I realize that a lot of you guys, we're at different places, right? And so for some of you, it's all about working more hours on the job, but and managing your money. But for a lot of others, it's about growing the money, right? Investing the money, making the money make more money, which is what I talk about is the purpose of money, not just to pay your bills and help out other people, but your money should be working on making more money, which is what we do right here in the stock market. So excellent point, Pistol. Thanks for pointing that out. $80 would be perfect. It ain't going to be $80. I'm pretty sure on that, guys. Let's see here. Yeah, 10 years plus long haul is what I'm in Nvidia. Any more questions? Let me check the Q's in the box. Wall Street punishing Jensen Huang for not having the chips yet. Excuse me. I don't think the chips is a big issue, to be honest with you. I think that's coming. That's not a big deal. I don't see it as Wall Street giving him the blues for that. Let's see here. Combining, let's see, padded portfolios. Yes, sir. If a report is good, why would the price go down? Lots of reasons. I think the primary reason the stock is down is because it didn't blow things out the water. Investors having too high expectations. Listen, a lot of the investors in Nvidia is retail investors. That's obviously not all of us, right? Because we know there's a lot of institutions and big boys, but a lot of Nvidia is retail investors. There are many, many people, guys, who don't even invest in the stock market that own Nvidia, or who only 100% of 99.9% of their portfolio is ETFs and index funds, but they own Nvidia, right? And I bet you there's a lot of folks in this chat who most of your money is ETFs, but you own Nvidia and Microsoft, right? So because there's so many retail investors, I think that the fact that Nvidia is not double and tripling the way it was, and so it kind of makes people pull back, like you saw in the chat earlier. Some people are a little nervous, and I think that's what happened. I don't think it's a big deal at all. So don't let that play on your fears, right? So here, hey guys, I appreciate you being here. Thank you so much for hanging out with me. Good news. To the moon. Nvidia. Listen. This is not investment advice. This is my opinion, telling you to do your own research, right? You can own Nvidia as a single stock. You can own Nvidia as an ETF in the ETF or index fund that you own, or you can not own Nvidia at all. And I'm not mad at you for any one of those choices, because personal finance is personal, right? What 6-Speed does is not what Little Nino does. And what Celia does is not what Pistol Pete does. And what Smart Money Bro does may not be what the Walla Mala does, right? We're all different. We're at different places. So you can have it as an individual stock. You can have it as an ETF. You can stay out of it and not mess with it. You could dollar cost average into it. You could lump sum into it, whatever you want to do. Everybody's different. You have to do what works for you, your risk tolerance level, and your plan of action, your investment strategy, right? So listen, I appreciate you guys more than you know. Mrs. Moore, thank you so much. Willie Wilo, appreciate you. Pistol Pete, thanks for showing up in here. Ben Frank, Nigel, Little Nino, all of you all. Thank you so much for participating. Thank you so much for hitting the like button. And I want you to do me one favor, guys. In about 3 or 4 minutes, 2 minutes, I want you to, when this live stream ends, I want you to go to the comment section of the video. Let me know what your position is on Nvidia. I'm curious. I don't want to do a full poll about this tomorrow. So let me know what your position is on Nvidia in the comments section when the live ends, if you can. I really would appreciate that. Also, don't forget in the description box, check that out. The stuff in the description box, please check that out. But listen, breaking news, Nvidia stock beat earnings, Q2 2025. Okay. That's a good sign. And the fact that the stock price has dipped a little bit, that's a good sign for investors that are long-term investors, right? Take the emotion out. Don't be emotional. Don't watch it. Make it see if it go to 96, see if it go to 108, right? Be patient. It's coming. Guarantee you. All right? Hey, as I always say, guys, the absolute best person to take care of the old you is the young you. Hit that like button, comment below, take good care of yourself, and take care of other people. Until the next video, peace.